Every season in the Yukon has a moment, a single week where the entire arc of a miner's year snaps into sharp, brutal focus, where the math on the whiteboard stops looking like optimism and starts looking like a threat. This is that week. 3 crews, 3 crossroads, and a Klondike that doesn't care how much money you've already spent or how many sleepless nights you've already given it. Parker Schnabel is chasing a miracle that costs $750,000 every 7 days just to attempt. Tony Beets has just signed away millions of dollars on a promise, a massive new piece of ground called the Moose, and already, the paperwork is fighting back. And on Kevin Beets' crew, the newest hire isn't just underperforming, he's burning the whole operation from the inside out, one reckless drive and one open radio channel at a time. Out here, a golden goose is only golden if it actually lays. And a wounded moose, it doesn't go quietly. By episode 18, the season's ledger is already written in blood and diesel. Parker Schnabel has crossed 7,000 ounces, a number that would have made a younger version of him grin from ear to ear. But the target is 10,000 ounces, and with the calendar narrowing, the gap isn't just a number anymore, it's a psychological weight. He's been running multiple wash plants simultaneously, stretching crews, burning through equipment, and now the Golden Mile, a critical piece of ground central to his long-term mine plan, is sitting with valuable pay still buried in the pit. Leave it there, and every future decision on that claim collapses like dominoes. Meanwhile, at Paradise Hill, Tony Beets has been watching his son, Mike, wrestle with the trommel, a machine that's spent for brutal months eating itself alive with breakdowns, while the crew chased a 6,500-ounce goal they still haven't locked down. The trommel has finally stirred back to life, but Tony's ambitions were never going to stop at just enough. The Moose claim, purchased from the same sellers who gave him the sluice lot, represents the next chapter, a $4 million bet on the future, half of it Mike's own money. And on Kevin's crew, a familiar face has arrived with a troubling reputation, a worker named Taven, previously let go from Parker Schnabel's own operation for the exact same reckless tendencies that are already surfacing again. Parker's decision lands like a grenade in the weekly crew meeting. To clear the Golden Miles pit within 7 days, he needs to pull 2 of his best-performing plants offline, Slucifer and Big Red, and redirect every available hand and machine toward moving dirt. His foreman Tyson Lee absorbs the news with the controlled frustration of a man who's heard enough bad plans to know this one might actually be necessary. The cost, nearly $750,000 in lost gold. Per week, Parker doesn't flinch. He can't afford to. We can't leave pay in that hole, he tells Tyson, his voice carrying the blunt certainty of someone who's already done the math 3 times and hated the answer each time. But math has a way of getting complicated in the Yukon. When Sean Holcroft heads down to Dominion Creek to help, his truck breaks down before it even gets started, and mechanic Taylor Mateka is forced to scavenge through scrapyards, looking for a replacement drive shaft. At Paradise Hill, Tony's big moment arrives in the form of a purchase agreement, and immediately begins to unravel. The Moose claim looks promising on paper, but there's a problem baked into the fine print. The water license attached to it isn't cleanly in their hands. $4 million down and the ground might not even be workable yet. How do you spend that kind of money and not know when the license expires? In the Klondike, that question doesn't have a general answer. And back on Kevin's crew, Taven is doing what Taven apparently always does, driving heavy equipment fast, loose, and reckless, dismissing every instruction to slow down with the casual confidence of someone who's never personally paid for a broken machine. But when his voice comes over the open radio, talking trash about Faith, Kevin's partner and an equal authority on the crew, the tension goes from a management headache to something far more personal. The Golden Goose arrives. It's Parker's answer, a new wash plant, a fresh piece of machinery that carries with it the weight of an entire season's momentum. While his other plants sit idle and the clock bleeds minutes, the Golden Goose begins turning dirt into hope. It runs for hours, silent proof that Parker's gamble might not collapse under its own ambition. But the first weigh-in after the shutdown is sobering. 53 ounces from the Golden Mile before the halt. 129 from Bridge Cut. 123 from Roxanne. Parker stares at the numbers and calls it, flatly, depressing. Still, the 7,000-ounce milestone falls, and through gritted teeth, that's something. Over at the trommel, Mike Beats finally sends a bucket of pay through the machine and watches it run, then immediately calls a stop when the belt slips out of alignment. The hose blows off the pump, a check valve installed backward, a cracked pipe. It's as if the machine is fighting him personally. But Mike doesn't break. He finds the faults, fixes them one at a time, and when the trommel finally settles into rhythm, 3 clean days of operation, it pulls 121.56 ounces from the ground, worth roughly $425,000, combined with the Sluice-A-Lot's 220 ounces and Find-A-Lot's 218. Tony's crew closes to within 500 ounces of their goal. The moose claim remains complicated, the water license still unresolved, but the season is alive. On Kevin's crew, the confrontation can no longer be delayed. Kevin turns to Faith, and Faith doesn't hesitate. She faces Taven directly, measured, firm, and clear, stripping back every excuse he's been hiding behind. This isn't a warning delivered gently. It's a reckoning. Asterisk by the time the dust settles on this particular week, no one has won cleanly. Parker's golden goose has started laying, but the egg count is still far below what he needs. The moose claim sits on the horizon like a promise wrapped in bureaucratic wire. Millions spent, potential untapped, licensing questions still hanging in the cold air. And Taven, confronted and cornered, has been reminded that in the Klondike, your reputation travels faster than your truck. Every crowd here is carrying something heavier than dirt this week. They're carrying the weight of decisions made in desperation, investments made in faith, and gambles that the Yukon will either reward or bury without ceremony. Parker said it plainly, and he meant every word. You cannot leave pay in the ground. But what he didn't say, what he didn't have to say, is that out here, the ground always takes something back. The golden goose is running, the moose is wounded but breathing, and the season, like the men and women fighting through it, refuses to quit.